Matt, right. So we're a few minutes after 9:30. We've got a couple who are not here yet, but we will get underway. So just on, I guess the public workshop, public discussion on terms of reference, we're recording it, and so it'll be available both to refer back to make sure we pick up all the discussion today when we're refining the documents ahead of the council meeting. But also it'll be up on the website publicly for anyone that may be interested in having a look. So myself and Amanda are here just to make sure we capture decent notes from all the discussion today. And then we'll obviously take those away and work with Hilary on appropriate updates to the documents ahead of them being attached to the paper for the November council meeting.
And with Kevin Richard, he'll be back on board.
Yeah, back on board next week. And the meeting will be managed by Hilary, so obviously everyone's online. So we'll just try and use the hands up function and just keep the discussion to one at a time, just so it's easy enough to follow along. But yeah, so Hilary, happy to hand over to you. And we're here, myself and Amanda here, just to provide any advice as needed. Otherwise, we will just be sitting and listening. Some of the other GMs are also online just to pick up the conversation. They've all been asked to catch up with portfolio leads post this conversation just to check in on your specific terms of reference, and that's more around the technical content within each draft. Thanks, Hilary.
Thank you. Well, my plan is we've got the beginning document that Amanda put together from our random thoughts when we started, and that's been followed by Chanel's track changed document, and then followed again by Amanda and Richard capturing some of the things we've been saying to each other in the last few days. So we've got a good range of thoughts there, and my plan at the moment for today is to go around everybody and ask whether there is things that have been missed out, or there are things that are there which people don't find happy and comfortable with a view to just Richard and Amanda will collect the thoughts from today, and as Richard said, probably Amanda and Kevin and I will then turn that into something sort of final to come to the meeting on the 26th. So I've written down people's names, and they don't need to be in this order. It's just that I haven't yet got an alphabetical order in my head for people. So perhaps if we could start with you, Alan.
Thank you, Hilary. Happy to do that. Yeah, look, I this morning have looked through that online draft document, the one that has the edits and whatnot in it, and I presume that is the most recent version we've got.
You've got
that right?
Sorry, Alan, you've got an email in front of you from this morning.
Yes. Yep.
And you might be particularly interested in the number one on that email.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I see that has been inserted into the document, and that's good. What's in the that email and has been inserted from that in the document, I'm very I'm happy to go with that. So that's good. There's a couple of were there a couple of other questions? No, look, I think that's all fine. One bit to be raised further, I guess, is about the review, and I had suggested putting some formal thing saying review after a certain period of time, and I know this system will be evolving and no doubt will change as we go, but I still think it is worth having stating some sort of review period as well. But otherwise, look, I think the modifications that people have made and the additions are clarifying things, and that's really good. And particularly about just sort of sorting out the sort of division between governance and operational things to make sure that portfolio leads don't start meddling in operational matters. So yes, as we are, I'm happy with where things are looking. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. That's very helpful. Who I've got next on my list is Kate.
Finding unmute on a phone is always hard. Sorry. Thank you, Hilary. I'm relatively comfortable about it. The only thing we don't talk about, and I know it's hard and it's probably a non-statutory and will be a evolving one as well, is the potential for the sharing across the boundaries and regional stuff. And it is so if I was going to take the regional land transport, for example, what that doesn't talk about, but because it isn't a statutory function, is that we participated in the South Island Regional Land Transport Committee chairs meetings. And I would like to see that sort of format going across some of these other portfolios. And how that's done, it's just something that, the what ifs and ensuring that is provided for. But otherwise, I'm really comfortable, especially in the areas that I have looked at. I think functionally it will it gives us the room to act well and doesn't restrict us, but sets a clear boundary between operational and management and governance, and that's a good thing. I'm excited, having talked to Neil about it. I'm really comfortable that we have some really good ways of going forward, that working with staff and being a conduit for getting the best out of the governance team, really.
Thank you, Kate. Would you imagine it might help just dropping the word and regional in one of the, I think, just to make it clear. I mean, or not regional in the sense of our regional council, but regional in the sense of the region.
It does, there's nothing, it will be something that evolves, and there's nothing in there that limits us from doing it. It's possibly just encouraging us to be looking that way, and if we don't have it in there, we may not be encouraged. I think everyone here is really excited by the potential of working across those regional boundaries, but I'm just raising it really in that context. I don't think there's any, I don't know, Richard, would it constrain us if it wasn't in there, or Amanda?
No, it wouldn't. No, it's more a direction than potentially to reference them. But we've just taken some notes. We'll just have a look at it. But we understand what you mean. It's just probably doesn't add anything in the terms of reference, and it certainly wouldn't constrain us by not being there.
Yeah. As long and that's why I raise it now, and then probably move on and not worry about it again. Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate. If you've had your tuppence worth, we'll move on to Andrew, please.
Thanks, Hilary. I'm very comfortable with the amendments that have been made, including the updated email you sent out this morning, Hilary. That all looks good to me. My only comment would be under 7, Alan's question. This is Hilary's email this morning about the connection with transport-related papers going to ORC in connection with DCC. It's sort of that fell through the cracks a bit in terms of our linkage with the city last triennium, and I just wondered whether, but I think I might be overthinking this, but tell me if I'm wrong, but if we were to have, approximately quarterly meetings or as required, or does approximately quarterly meetings allow us to connect when in between those times when we have something transport related going to council and we need to connect with them more regularly? It may not be like for the whole triennium, but there will be times that probably we need to. The way this government's operating. You know, we've often got a very tight time frame to turn around, even, you know, aligning or discussing related transport submissions, for example. Yeah, just throw that one in there.
So would that work if it's sort of said, just said as required, but minimum of, or sort of?
Yeah, probably.
yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just making it clear that we've got the mandate to connect as required, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Chanel. Have we got a Chanel?
Yeah. Yep, no, broadly happy. I think we've covered off most things. I do still want to flesh out the Eco Fund Large Scale Environment Fund sitting in delivery. I'm just interested to hear others' thoughts on that. I would quite like it to sit in finance while we get some clarity over, and while we're guiding the clarity around the Large Scale Environment Fund in particular. And I think the other day I did raise quite a few concerns about how those funds are being not just given out, but how they're being managed in general. So, I mean, you might sway me that sits firmly in operations, and if there is a close connection with audit and risk in that, but I think it might go a bit further. I think it might more suitably fit in finance to be reviewed. Yeah, that's probably my only, but I'm
Okay.
interested to hear
We
from
can-
others.
Amanda and Richard and Kevin and I can have a talk about that and see how to marry those two areas, because quite clearly it wants to be whatever
You
we
want
do
the
with it
whole
wants to be
spectrum.
directed
Yeah,
very carefully environmentally, and
Yeah.
that direction be supervised by finance. So somewhere in the middle of there.
yeah.
So-
Or as they say, it may sit better in audit and risk. Probably, I don't know. It's just a area of interest for me, and I'd really love to see it be amazing. And I don't doubt the staff can achieve that, but maybe just some fresh eyes in that space, I guess, is what I bring.
I guess arguably, if we divide, which we do, environmental delivery and the planning function of that, it sits very clearly in both of them and requires the audit and risk function. So we'll think about that.
Yeah, think about
Thanks,
that. And
Chanel.
aside from that, I think we're well on track.
Thank you. Have we got then, if you're done, Chanel?
Can I just jump in, Hillary?
Sorry?
Can I just jump in on that matter?
Yes.
You know, from the environmental delivery perspective, I think the fact that the large scale environmental fund is still developing in terms of what the process looks like, how we're going to make decisions, etc. I think it would be really wise to have that additional lens over it at the early stage. Well, it doesn't matter, over a period of time till it settles in, so to speak. And I can't see any problem as well having that lens across additional lens, whether it's audit and risk or finance or whatever. The same would apply to the Eco Fund. If there is, you know, a requirement to make sure that it's working or both funds are working in a transparent way where, you know, it's clear and obvious how we make the decisions and the linkage back with the strategic directions and catchment action plans and all that sort of thing, and just ensuring that every mechanism along the way, every step along the way to eventually making a final decision on applicants or applications, I should say. It just needs to be, I think, a bit more work done from that financial lens perspective. So I'm very comfortable if that's where you head with it.
Thanks, Andrew. Robbie, have we a Robbie?
There, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, looks fine to me. No comment.
A man of few words. I like that in a man. Michael's presumably on his other job.
We haven't got Michael, not that I can see on the list at the moment. So Mike, no Michael.
Okay, Gary.
Thank you. Yep, I'm very happy with the initial terms of reference and then where they've evolved to with the comments. So that's all good. I concur with Chanel's concerns around EcoFund and the large scale environmental fund. And it's just down to where we see the impetus most being. Is it a financial fund to deliver an environmental outcome or an environmental fund to deliver a financial outcome? And I think it needs equal sort of weighting across the ensuring the absolute best spend for the best environmental outcome. So it almost needs to be ring fenced into its own corner. But no, look, I'm happy as is. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Neil.
Right. Hopefully I've unmuted. Yeah, I think the comments made already signify we've come a long way from the concept to where we are today. And I think we will find things after we're finished that we want to tinker with, but with where it's got to and where it's likely to head up, I'm pretty comfortable with where it is going and how it's going to end up. The only concern I've got is that, and I'm looking particularly in the policy and planning portfolio to maybe a level of detail, is that with no delegations, and it talks about we've got responsibility for council submissions and advocacy on behalf of the region, and just because the reality is if staff are preparing submissions and the timetable says can't get to a council meeting, then the portfolio will consider that and effectively provide some sort of sign off on picking just how we might be able to make sure we're not making decisions on behalf of the council and unintentional consequences. That's my only concern, how we cover that off.
I'm imagining that you may well form a sort of a standing submissions committee
With a delegation.
with who can be delegated to. So
Yeah,
form it so as that the rest of council can delegate to that committee or something. But you could form that in your own time and however you want, with whoever you wanted in it, and then say to council, in what circumstances could we perhaps delegate submissions to that? Is that sort of thing that would help?
Yeah, I think Richard and Amanda have heard that, and Anita, they'll probably work out a way of accommodating that going forward. I know from past experience, sometimes you quickly do an all points email and say, this is what we're going to say, and speak now if you ever hold your peace, or what we're saying is not going to bind us anyway, but we're going to say something, because the timeframes that we are getting as regional district councils are ridiculous, and there's just no way of bringing everybody together. So yeah, we can work that through. I'm happy.
Of course, we don't have to comment on everything just because somebody asks. We may have nothing to say.
True. Those ones are easy.
Okay, nothing further from you, Neil?
Hello, just on that one. So Neil, I had flagged with Anita to have a conversation with you and Kate around how the submissions will work this term, because we had that function last term, and it worked well, and I think it is a lot to put on two people. So you can expect to have that conversation, and then we can firm up what that process would look like and formalise it.
Yeah, we've already started. So I just want to make sure everybody else is aware of it as well. And otherwise you have Kate and Neil going off on the crusades and doing all sorts of things. Not that Kate would ever do that.
Okay. Are you finished with your...
Yeah, I'm done.
thoughts?
Thank you. Matt's sitting beside me waiting for his turn now.
Yeah. Okay, Matt.
Good morning. Hey, yeah, I'm really happy with where
document's got to. So thanks to Chanel and all you guys that have worked on it so well. The only thing I was hoping for, I just want to get my head around today is just the protocols in terms of when you know, if there's the amount of information that's shared from the portfolio lead to everybody else on the council, you know, and vice versa, is it just the mechanics of that. So I don't know if that's something you want to talk about at the end of this in terms of the workshop sort of factor. But for example, you know, if there is a policy response needed to NZTA for a transport issue that Anita and her team are working on, I'm a portfolio, Ellen and I are portfolio leads on it. Is Anita going to send a dear Matt and Ellen, this is the issue, this is the timeframe this we want to work to, and it's copied to everybody else? Or is it something that Ellen and I go back and forth with Anita, you know, initially, and then go, dear council, this is where we've got to on this matter? And I'm just trying to think through the practicalities of this sort of stuff, you know, because I guess in my understanding of the subcommittee stuff, everybody was on the subcommittee, so all correspondence on that topic would go to everybody. So again, if that's for talking about it after we've gone through this document, then that's fine, but I just sort of flag it now.
Yeah, I think that's something that Richard can send us something that puts out how we might do that, and how we'll try and do that. I mean, that may be one of the points that evolves to a bit, but I think that's something that Amanda and Richard can help us through how that would most efficiently be done with the right knowledge to come to everybody when it needs to, and not bombarding people with everything that the portfolio leads should be dealing with.
That's exactly my point. You know, I'll take guidance on what's going to work best for everybody, but I just wanted to make sure, because I think we all set off on the same path, all knowing, right, there's full transparency of everything. If you're CC'd in it, there's no expectation of response, you know, or you know, we don't want to be cumbersome, you know, email inboxes get filled up very quickly, and we want to be effective so that, when the decisions are made, the right people have had the right information at the right time. So that's all I'm curious about, and I'm happy with the way it's all going. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Gretchen.
Okay, thank you. And I was just reading through the email that we received this morning, which was really helpful. There were lots of good suggestions there that you circulated, Hilary, from Amanda. Overall, we are getting there. It's great. I like the discussion. Well, it's useful to have the more detail around how portfolio leads would work when it came to council meetings and what their role would be alongside the staff and yourself. Just one thing to think about would be heading into a council meeting where we're aiming not to have papers for the sake of papers, so they're hopefully going to be matters that are important arising at council, just for portfolio leads to have a think about how they interact with the chair, so that everyone's prepared for that meeting without it becoming too onerous for you, Hilary, having to deal with 11 of us bombarding you the day before a council meeting. But we just need to think of a process for ensuring that we are all prepared for that meeting. I used to have a meeting as the chair head of a council meeting with the key staff and with media. But if you've got portfolio leads leading their area, you need to be all over what they know as well in preparation for all that, because you'll probably end up, that's another thing actually, while I'm talking, is the media responses as well, whether that all goes through you or how. So we'll just need to think about that. It's totally doable, but making sure we're successful once we get to that stage. Don't need to have solved it entirely today, but do need to think about that. If we've got a whole lot of portfolio leads, we've got everything in their heads. Yes. And also media responses, so that we're all on the same page of who does what. Yep.
Thanks, Gretchen. That's really useful. And we're hoping to get out papers for council meetings, what's now being described perhaps as a fortnight or 10 days in advance, but we're getting as close to a fortnight as we can. And so the council meeting agenda setting and things will all be happening before that. And so we'll nut out how they interact between the portfolio leads and the staff and Richard and Kevin and I. So we'll just, I think you're quite right to highlight it as something that needs thinking about.
It does.
If I can summarise you.
Yep. Nice one. And yeah, CE Performance Review Committee or Working Group.
Yes.
Committee sounds okay as well. A group that's a smaller than all of us group that's doing the process, I suppose, which can be quite involved. But yeah, making sure that everyone's involved at key steps like annual review and maybe 6 monthly. But yeah, I'm happy with either of those. I guess, hearing what Richard prefers is helpful too, but I think either would work fine. What else? I think pretty good. I don't need to talk for the sake of it. We're getting there. Thanks.
Feel free.
No, I won't do that. Thanks.
Okay, now have we got one apart from me missing? Can I count to 11 or 12 or who have I missed out? No one? No one here who hasn't spoken?
Yeah, no, Kevin and Michael are not on the call, and I
Yes.
think everybody else has now spoken.
Okay. I really like the way this has been evolving, and thank you, councillors. When I said that this proposal would mean that councils had to take more responsibility for what they're doing and where they fit in and how we perform our roles, I hadn't quite realised how early that responsibility would be shown. And this is what people engaging with this process is really encouraging to me, that people are wanting to get in amongst it and do things that will work well and share when they know that something might be an issue. So thank you very much to everybody. We will, Amanda and Richard and Kevin and I will go away and turn that into those thoughts into a prettier document and things. And if there's any other things that we need to come back about, we will. Otherwise, or if there's anything later that we can say at the meeting, that when it's brought to the 26th meeting, there may be things just to say where things have landed or whatever, but we will get in amongst that and you'll see a revised document prior to that meeting. But don't go away, there's more. While we're all here, and I've been asking people when they would like, if we have a placeholder for workshops. So instead of workshops just coming, or briefings or whatever they are that we've got control over, coming randomly, that we aim to have 2 days available for potentially for the council meeting, and we're currently thinking that it works best on the last week of the month. Not dying in a ditch over it at this point, but it would be a wee bit more convenient for reports and things. So last week of the month, Wednesday and Thursday, and up to Wednesday and Thursday. So up to those 2 days. And if we have an extra workshop day, so as that the staff know that we have sort of kept it aside, or we're expecting something might turn up on another day. The question is whether we tag that on to the council meetings or whether we try in the middle of the month on a Wednesday and Wednesday or Thursday to keep it as a placeholder for potential workshops. And I've had some input from people, but if I just do a quick whip round with that list again, so as that we can have each person's input into that just quickly. If anybody doesn't have any input, that's fine too. So, Alan. No, have we lost Alan?
Alan's on mute.
Sorry. Yep, thanks. I had my hand raised there just to return to the earlier discussion for a moment, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry, yes.
And then I'll go on to
I
what
must
you've
have
asked.
missed your hand, sorry.
That's all right. Regarding the large-scale environmental fund, while we're still developing that, certainly finance and audit and risk and everyone ought to be all over that. But once that is, we've worked out how that's going to work, I believe it sits squarely with environmental delivery. So I just thought I'd add that one in.
Thank you.
To return to what you've just asked.
Yeah, and sorry, if I can just stop you just a wee minute. And the other question that comes with that is, do we start at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, and that will affect more the people out of town as to when we would like to start the council meetings. So if you can answer those two questions.
Right. Early is fine by me, but most of them are in Dunedin, and if they're out of Dunedin, I may have to, depending where they are, go up the day before, but that's okay. I think my preference would be to have a mid-month set of meetings as well. However, I'm flexible around that.
Thanks, Alan. Kate.
Sorry. The time we start, I absolutely defer to the people that are living furthest away. I can easily get in any time of the day. But I would like to have us combining meetings and making the most of the time that we are having to drive for. The workshops is an interesting one. In the area that I'm coming from, I think there's some real engagement with the community in this space. And I possibly don't see workshops being quite the same format that we may have had in the past. So it's hard to say. I would like to think that some of our workshops will be informed by field trips, not just around council meetings outside of that. And so I'm, rather than saying one preference, I'd probably be saying, I'd like to see this being an area that we will develop and change potentially as we see what the needs and of both the community and staff and ourselves in growing our understanding. So not particularly helpful answer, Hilary. I'm really happy to go with the flow, but I do want to challenge ourselves to get out more outside of and to see what is happening potentially on the ground, not just around council meetings.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, happy with starting whatever time in the morning. Doesn't worry me. Yeah, like the sound of the placeholder in the middle of the month for whether it's workshops, and as Kate's just alluded to, maybe site visits or whatever. Placeholder, we don't need to use them. We only need to use them when it's necessary. Yeah, happy. We're meeting a council meeting every month for a couple of days. Yep. No, comfortable with all of that.
Thanks, Andrew. Chanel.
Right. I'm in business. I'm fine with that. If we can just keep it around that Wednesday, Thursday, that'd be good. I'm just wondering, how often do we have council meetings outside of Dunedin?
Well, what we're missing at the moment today is Michael, who would tell you we should be having most of them in Dunstan. How often we have them out of Dunedin will be up to us. The restrictions that we have is that it, of course, costs more to shift people around the place. I mean, it's cheaper to bring 4 Dunstan people into town, but on the other hand, we should be getting out and about more, and so.
Yeah, I agree.
We
Richard, how
haven't
many?
decided yet, but
So historically, once a quarter, which means we try to get to. We don't quite get round. Well, no, we do. We try to get to the other 4 TAs once a year, effectively.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, and then the balance of the needed. But again, as they're open to suggestions, there is a cost, but also there is a real benefit to us getting out and having some of those meetings out around the region.
Oh, yeah, I think even though I'm creating more work for myself, getting out in the region, and I'm aligned with what Kate says. I really want to see what's happening out there, and then that actually if we are doing that, it facilitates those field trips. You know, the Cromwell one coming up is really helpful because we're tagging on a field trip, and it feels like we're participating a bit more authentically in those communities. But aside from that, that was all you were asking us, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
The timing in the morning. You don't care
Look,
what time in the
obviously,
morning.
to be fair, with another board I'm on, we all do commit to going up the night before. Mainly that's due to flights, but if we do commit to an earlier start and people do have to come the night before, it would be nice to gather together for a meal. But, you know, I understand you guys have to travel. You've got lives, so I'm easy.
Right. Well, there is also, if we're thinking that it's Wednesday and Thursday, and Richard and I are both quite committed to keeping the agenda so as that it wouldn't go past 2 days, and hopefully might be less often. But if it's Wednesday and Thursday, there's the evening in the middle of that too for the for a get together if people wanted to. So
Perfect.
you're saying,
Cool.
yeah, you're saying you don't really mind either the timing
I'm
or
easy.
yeah.
No, just if we can keep it that later in the week, other stuff can fit in at the front end.
Yeah. And you would rather have, if we had a placeholder day, that it attached on to our standard monthly times, or? Sorry,
No, I
I'm
think
not trying to put words in your mouth.
No. I think you have to realistically have a couple of weeks before our council meeting and whatever happens next to allow staff to do whatever's arisen. Although it would be nice to have everything clustered, I think practically we have to have space in between.
Thank you. Robbie.
Yeah, I think if we're going to do, say, Wednesday, Thursday, if that Wednesday could start sort of 10 o'clock, just so I'm away for one night, that would be good. But if we could squeeze 2 days into one bigger day, especially with how efficiently we're getting through things already, that would suit me as well. Yeah.
Right. So, and if there's a placeholder workshop day, would you want to, do you mind where that fits?
No,
you'd rather.
I'm flexible. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. That's cool. Thank you. Gary.
Yeah, thanks. I'm flexible too. For me, it's a sort of 2.5 hour trip. So I would, for a 9 o'clock start, I'd come down the night before. Like Robbie says, if we were starting 10, then I'd come down that morning possibly. It would depend on the length of the days and how much we've got to get through. I probably would prefer, if there's other placeholder stuff, for it to be kind of clustered together, but yeah, middle of the week works good. Yeah, preferably not Mondays or Fridays for me. All good?
Okay. Cool. Neil?
Yeah, one of the things I can say about living in Central Otago, travel is just one of those things we do, and the most important thing to me that I've learned over the years, though, is that early morning travel, late night travel sometimes is hazardous to one's health. And just with the risk about driving. I like the idea of the end of the last week of the month, and I know I did suggest that, and I was being entirely selfish. My first Tuesday, Wednesdays every month have been for 30 years on one thing, so it's nice to be able to still do that. The idea of a fortnight before for any workshops or other pre-meeting stuff, my logic said to me, if we're going to have stuff that might want to come to that meeting, it needs to be a fortnight before you can get it to an agenda item or whatever. So that's my logic for that. And I think it was just that those are the placeholders that are in place for Wednesday, Thursdays. For that would work well for me. A bit like Gary coming down the night before, depending on the start time. That will depend probably on the agenda. I think might guide us towards that. My wife will tell you the least nights I spend away from home, the better in her view.
So that means 10 o'clock would work better for you, would it?
Well,
Neil?
it would, but equally you got about productivity as well, and that it's still an early morning start for 10 o'clock. But it's a better start time, but it does mean to be there by 10. I'm going to say I need 3 hours. I've got to be away by 7, probably between 6:30 and 7. Winter, that's not always nice. Sometimes it's just easy to say I'll come down the night before. It's done. You start in a good frame of mind.
So if we had it 10 o'clock, it wouldn't mean that you guys couldn't come down the night before when that seemed the right way of doing it. And it means you're not. I sort of have some vague concerns about setting up a situation where, and we could change it from summer to winter if it comes to that, setting up a situation where you guys are driving on potentially icy roads in the dark in the middle of winter any more than, as if we can work around that a bit, that would feel more comfortable for me, because it's a bit scary, some of those roads in the dark and in the ice. Anyway, so all I'm saying is that we could have it 10 o'clock, which gives you guys more time to come in the morning, knowing that sometimes that you'll still come down the night before because that's appropriate.
Yep.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm keen with that. 10 o'clock starts Wednesday, Thursday is good with me. And when the meeting is a remote destination, exotic Queenstown or Wanaka or Oamaru, wherever we might be for that meeting, I'd love to have even a half day site visit to something, tapped on maybe a Tuesday afternoon, just to again connect with the community. Also to site visits and stuff 2 weeks beforehand, sort of middle of the month, the stuff that's topical to whatever going to be discussed would be ideal. I get that might be a bit tricky to get people around the district, but if it's available and some of us can get there, then that's a really good representation from the council to get out and meet the people and have a chat. So if only three of us can get there with 3 staff or whatever the case might be, then that's better than nothing. And geography might influence, but if we know that it's tagged to a Wednesday and a Thursday, and in our brains we've got the second week of the month there's potential site visits and then definite things in the last week of the month, then that gives it good structure. So thank you.
Cool. Gretchen?
Just keen to work in with what works. We'll need to be flexible, make sure we have time for field days when we can after council out of town, which is what we did in the past. That's really good, but also work in with what actually works for staff as well, so that if they're busily working on trying to get papers ready or whatever, it actually works with their program too, realistically, for when we have workshops. But yeah, I'm available anytime really, so whatever works. Thanks.
Thank you. Have we got everybody except for me at this point? I think so. We can go away and figure that out. We're starting to get some themes and some ideas about what works for the bulk of the people, I think. Something that Richard and Amanda and I, not yet Kevin, just because it was this week, have talked about is that when we're being invited to things, there'll be some things that are relevant to the portfolio people particularly, and not necessarily desperately relevant to everybody else. And the plan would be that we would turn it into a red flag on your calendar to answer if you're the portfolio leads for those things. And I'm not saying that's generally the case, but there are some things so as that the portfolio leads would be invited, such as that they have to turn it down or engage with it properly, and the rest of the council would be told that it was happening and that they were most welcome to put their hand up and attend. So there are you can discriminate between the things that you might be expected to attend because you need to do your job properly, and things that if you have an interest in them, feel free to come along, but that you're not expected to attend. So we'll just flag them up a wee bit differently, so as people don't feel, oh, should I be going to that? Should I be going to that? When actually, if they want to, fine, but there's no reason why they need to. Is that chat suitable for everybody? Did everybody else see that, what Kate just put up, or just me? Kate, do you,
That was just to you, but yeah.
Would you like to?
Oh, well, so tomorrow, wearing a totally different hat, Hilary and Richard are coming to an event. It is related to transport. So in that instance, I'd be really happy for the local lead for transport to arrive to come as well. So that's the sort of situation I think you're talking about, Hilary.
Yes. Yes.
So, Ellen, if you want to join Richard and Hilary tomorrow at an event at 324, I'll send you an invite. If you're around.
Thanks.
Yes. And the list of other, that was the last thing on my little shopping list of other committees and things for people to be appointed on. I've had some feedback from some people. I'll work with that when Kevin comes back on duty more, and anybody who's got more input into that they want to say, they can send it in, and we'll have a look at that, and we will talk to people over the next probably week or 10 days about the ones that we haven't yet sort of found a natural fit for. So get in and say something if you want to engage with that process more than us saying, you look like a likely lad for that. And
sorry, can someone point me in the direction of that document as well? Thank you.
Is that not been sent to everybody, Richard and Amanda?
It probably has. I'm still finding myself in my papers.
Yes. If it hasn't, if you could do, Richard and Amanda, do that. Are you still here?
Yeah, it's at the end of the terms of reference document so it's got the terms of the role, the committee, the portfolio outlines, and then right at the back is the list of working groups and nominations that council needs to put forward.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I didn't scroll down far enough.
No, that's totally.
Yeah, and two last things. We're now firming up now that we've had this discussion about timing and things, we'll firm up a proposed meeting schedule for next year. And Richard and Amanda are working on producing the work plan of each portfolio area, which can be available for all of us, but in particular those people. So we can put those two things together and get the feel for how the year might look. between us and staff. And I think that's going to be really helpful to people to be able to look and think, here's how the flow of the year sort of goes. So that will be back to you. Watch this space soon. And just the last thing, unless Rich and Amanda want to say, did you want?
Andrew's just got a hand up.
Oh, I can't see Andrew's hand on my screen. Andrew.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Hey, I just had to wander back inside and just plug into the power. Hey, there's just a couple of things with the appointments. One was Cozy Homes Trust. I assume that's been feedback about it's not necessary under the new constitution for the Otago Housing Alliance, which is the new name for the Cozy Homes Trust. And so we're all there as individuals rather than representing any particular organisation. So I just want to share with you, I'm just going to continue on as an individual there. And I suppose you sort of partly answered the question now, Hilary, around that list of appointments. Do they generally, your plan is generally to align them with the portfolio lead responsibilities, or you're not so worried about that? I just want to clarify that as well.
Yeah, I'm not totally worried about that. I'll just sort of see how they fit, because some of them, like Neil being on CDM, are a sort of a no-brainer, and it wouldn't matter where he fitted in the portfolios. He'd be a no-brainer for that. So I'll just see if they naturally fit into sort of responsibilities people already have, or but that's good. The Chanel's just asked where we move with the mana to mana. I think we've got a lot of thinking to do about how we move on and keep our what has been nurtured very well under probably Gretchen and Alan relationship with local iwi. And I think we have to have a look again at how we fit things in and how we set up. I think we do need to set up protocols about how we engage, and whether the mana to mana group is the right way of doing it, or whether we adapt that, or whether we have a different, like the DCC has done it by way of a different meeting structure, I think. And what we do, I haven't yet got my head round, but if people want to, I haven't got my head round with an idea of here's some options we could do. But I do know we've got both things we want to do and responsibilities we have to do. And I don't think at the moment we are clear that we're doing either of them as well as we might.
So I'm fine. We've landed on our terms of reference. That's awesome. We've got provision for enhancing that relationship going forward. I just don't want to go to and I'm not sorry, we've had a very productive and great meeting, and I don't want to put us off track, but I don't want to go into the mana to mana meeting and have it go the way it did at the Marae, which was deeply uncomfortable for everybody. I just want to know that we're going to go into that prepared, either with a plan or even just an understanding of how they've worked in the past, or I'm just trying to make sure we are all set for a successful outcome from our first mana to mana meeting.
So maybe if I just jump in now. So the mana to mana concept is obviously we meet as equals. So developing the agenda has been done by the chair and Edward as the sort of senior representative on mana to mana. So that conversation still needs to happen to firm up what the expectations are on Mana Whenua side, and then also on ours for the agenda. I mean, we know
Okay.
what the key topic's going to be, and then I think it is just around the discussion that we've had today that will inform an updated terms of reference, and then using that as the basis to have a conversation around, in relation to that additional resolution that Kate put in. What are opportunities that we have got, and what are the expectations or preferences of Mana Whenua, and they will want to hear from council around how we want to develop that relationship as well. So the agenda needs to be developed in consultation. That's the sort of premise of Mana to Mana, and then that will give us the structure for any conversations that happen next week.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
Thank you.
And thank you for that.
So my hand is up. Sorry, Henry.
Yep.
So
You want to say something first, Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, on Mana to Mana. Well, I think we probably all have ideas, and I'm really, and sorry, I can't be there. In my mind, though, none of us will have the right idea until we've had that consultation. I get that. I think there's some real strength in having a discussion about how workshops will run at a level, because that, I think, will lead into both how we set up ourselves to have someone from Mana to Mana or a representative from Mana Whenua around the table giving some ideas and their thoughts, and then staff translating that into perhaps a front end of a report rather than it being tagged at the back end as it is done at the moment. But those solutions, I can give sort of a high level like that now, but that's really hard to do until you're all around the table next week. So, yeah. At the moment,
I don't think it's necessarily yet ready for it is ready for a Mana to Mana meeting in our ongoing keeping in touch sense. I don't think it's ready for where we develop something and even for a full table discussion about that at this point. But I am concerned for the matter Chanel has raised, and I will work on how we avoid the situation we had at the Marae, which I found deeply uncomfortable and a mix of things that didn't quite fit in the same bundle to me. But we do need to, I think some of the thinking needs to be done before we have a directed thought, a directed interactive process with as a round the table discussion. For example, one of the things that has troubled me in our consultation is that we have had staff telling us what iwi think. And that is not what the legislation says, and it's not what the relationship we're supposed to be having says. So I'm very uncomfortable about the idea that we get iwi views filtered through staff. It's and I'm not for a moment suggesting that the staff haven't done absolutely the best job they could have interpreting what iwi have said. But one of the things is that if we've got different people saying different things to different staff members, and our obligation is to consult, then consulting is something that we need to know, is this the view of iwi? We don't need to have different views turning up. I mean, they'll develop.
And that's where I think the workshop could be a really helpful place in having that representation coming as a clear voice. So yeah, I appreciate, but I also don't think we've got the answer yet, and I totally agree that that's a discussion to continue to have.
Yes, and it'll take a while, but we need to put all the bits the building blocks in and the bits to take into account. So in answer to both you and Chanel, we will work on how we make that mana meeting a safe and respectful environment.
If I could just,
Yeah, we've got Robbie and Gretchen, Hillary.
Yes.
Sorry, Robbie.
Okay.
I see council's engagement with Maori falls under the strategy and customer portfolio. So why can't we just leave it to the strategy and customer portfolio leads, and they can come back to us?
So mana to mana is an all of governance. It's a council issue. So there will be a or depending on the way the terms of reference goes, that's going to have to be picked up through there. But ultimately that relationship is held at a council level. So that's why the council meets with mana to mana. But yeah, take your point. The strategy and customer includes responsibility over that engagement side of ORC, which includes iwi engagement.
Thank you. Did you say the hands are coming up only after somebody started?
I was going to talk.
Oh,
sorry,
so there we
Hillary. Yeah,
Gretchen.
we got a lot of noise with people on our roof at the moment, but I'll just talk loudly if that happens. Sorry. I was just going to follow up on the suggestion there that staff interpret the mana whenua views. I think possibly maybe that happened in the past, but last training anyway, we had quite a few structures in place and it might just be worth a bit more understanding about how that worked and how it works. So that Ōkaha is basically staff for Runaka and for the relationship for our staff to have there, and often it's with formal consultation, and it's totally appropriate that you would understand each other's point of views there. Then we have mana to mana, where we understand each other's point of view at the governance level, which is Runaka, Marai's leaders across Otago and Southland, and us. So we can ask any questions about viewpoints at that level, and that's really important. And we also had other governance structures set up, like the Land and Water Governance Group, where again we had representatives from across Otago and Southland, and we could again ask and interact at that governance appropriate level. So I think sometimes staff do have interactions, but you get that. And it's our role to ensure we got the right ones happening there. And I think we were getting to that really well. So I would hate to think that staff were being painted that they went off and did stuff without us. Yep.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Gretchen, that was in response to Kate's, the staff could summarise the view of iwi and in their report. And that brings me out in spots. And that's partly why the legal side of me says we need things in writing when they're important, and we need to know views that governance are taking into account somehow. And whether we do that by representatives saying things to us that we have then recorded, so we can turn that into our version of writing and saving them doing it or whatever. But it doesn't, although governance heard, and I think there was a lot more things done during this last 3 years, Gretchen, from what I hear, and you've just outlined some of the ways people have, that doesn't necessarily translate through. For example, the Land and Water Plan, Land and Water Group, whatever, which did have governance on it, didn't have, I don't think all the other governors necessarily knowing what was said. There wasn't, I gather, a written report that everybody agreed about that came back and said this is, that iwi signed off saying this is what iwi thinks about something, or I don't know. Anyway, you've been taking it further along that journey, and I'd like to take it a bit further still, is I guess what I'm saying.
Pretty much everything we do is public as well. So, yep.
Yes. Go. Right. Are we done for today then? I'm done for my little shopping list. Richard and Amanda, have I left anything off?
We've got what we need to, to move that forward. Thank you.
Okay, and on time and under budget, or under time and on budget, or something. Right. Thank you, people. I think we're really getting somewhere here. Very
Thanks, Laurie,
useful
well
to have
done.
people's input.
Yeah, really good. The Leyburn office is content.
Thanks,
Cool.
everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you. See ya.